Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a music producer and worship leader in Phoenix, Arizona. And I have these pedalboard walkthroughs that have become kind of like an annual institution here on my channel. I made my first one in 2014 using the 5 or 6 pedals I owned back then. I was totally new to pedal boards. I was just starting to learn about pedals, and I posted it just for fun, I guess. I didn't think anybody would really care, but I was just like, here's what I'm using. And it's been weirdly popular. I've continued to make them every single year because, my board has changed every single year. So it has become kind of fun as a chronicle of like me trying new stuff and discovering things and fine tuning what I like. But 2 things are notable this year. One is that it's the 10-year anniversary of me starting doing this. It was exactly 10 years ago that I started the channel. And the other thing is, this is the first year, I think, ever where nothing's different on my board. And that's been happening the last few. The rate of change has really been slowing down. There was a while there where you could open up the 2015 one and then open up the 2016 one, and it was all new stuff. I've really landed on the pedals that I want for my sound. I don't know that a pedal board has ever really done, but it's 2-3 years since I've made any serious changes to this thing. And this year it's exactly the same as last year. So I was going to skip doing one of these because what's to talk about it? You could just watch the one from last year. But with the 10-year anniversary and everything, I thought, let's do one more and kind of go out with something a little different. So I rebought everything that was on my 2014 board and have reassembled it. And I thought I would just sort of go back and forth and compare where I started. What's the meme? How it started, how it's going. And just compare my beginner pedal board to where I have ended up now as something of a professional. There could be 2 different takeaways from this, I guess. If my current one sounds a lot better, which I expect it to, then it will show the evolution of trying to find good tones and fine tune what I'm looking for in pedals. If they both sound okay, then maybe this is a resounding endorsement for not having to spend a bunch of money. I don't know. But this is the first electric board I ever assembled when I got serious about playing at church, and what I'm running now. Now, these days I almost always use a Strymon Iridium as my amp, but I couldn't really figure out the routing to A/B between these 2 different boards and have them going into the Iridium. The way I have it wired, it was a pain. So I have plugged them both into my Vox AC15 Creamback. That actually is probably more of a fair comparison anyway, because I was using a tube amp back then when I started the channel. So this is a little closer to what I would have had going on in the old video. And both boards are running into the same amp, set the same. I'm just A/Bing them with a switcher pedal. This is truly everything off. The 2 things I would always have turned on my current pedal board are my diamond compressor and my Timmy. Those are just always ons for me. This is my bass tone, essentially. And then here is the old board. And back then I was using a Dynacomp. That was my first compressor. Go ahead and turn that on so that they're a little more similar. So at this stage, I think they both sound pretty good, although I do hear what the Timmy's doing as kind of the X factor in the chain. Obviously, I like the Diamond compressor more than the Dynacomp. It's a little more subtle, but the key difference at this point is I'm using the Timmy to shelve out a bunch of low end because I play on my neck pickup almost all the time. And you can hear that low end still being there on the old board. So it's not bad, but it does probably have too much bass. Now, bringing drives into this. This is I'm on the old board still. I'll leave the Dynacomp on and then I'll engage this Tube Screamer, which was my first overdrive pedal, and I've rebought a pretty similar one. Compared to the Rook that I use now. Yeah, so that sounds about the way I remember Tube Screamers sounding, which is to say there's no lows and there's no highs and it's all just one big mid-range. Still don't love it. The reason I've gone to the Rook these days is it's a sort of a Tube Screamer based thing, but it's got really flexible EQ. And I have my bass and treble up almost all the way, basically just counteracting that mid hump. I think you hear the difference when I A-B these. I'm so happy with the Rook. I don't see ever changing that. So I'm going to turn the overdrives back off here and check out the wet effects. On the old board, I was using a Boss DD3. That was my first delay ever. I think I was like 12 when I got that. And I was still using it in 2014 when I made that video. I still have a lot of affection for it, although it's really not probably the right choice for this application. But this is what that one sounds like. These days, I do not use digital. My delay is digital, but I don't use the digital delay like the unfiltered sound. I much prefer like an analog or a tape sort of thing with a rolled off high end on the repeats. As digital delays go, it sounds good, but that full frequency digital sound is not really something that I use. And then the other delay that I had just recently gotten in the video 10 years ago is this TC flashback, which at the time I was mostly using for dotted eighth type stuff. Still think that flashback sounds pretty good. And I don't think I ever did this back then, but now I want to try stacking those. So this is the flashback into the DD3. The major workflow advantage with my board now is that all my delays are coming from the Line 6 HX Stomp, so they're perfectly tempo synced with each other, and there's just one tap that controls all of them. My 2014 board had no tap tempo features whatsoever, and I was just leaning down and adjusting things. So that's maybe the biggest practical change from back then. And then, let me turn all that stuff off. My reverb is another major change because my first reverb pedal was the Electro-Harmonix Cathedral, which I don't necessarily stand by now as a choice for an ambient reverb, but I liked the hold function on it. I still think that's fun. I wish anything else about it was as fun as that is. Almost don't hear that until I stop playing. There is clearly a reverb, but when I'm playing it pretty far in the background. Let me see. Now it's way too obvious. Let me back that down. Now I can't hear it anymore. I don't know where the sweet spot is on this reverb. I used to get slightly better sounds out of it, but alas. Where I have landed now is the new neighbor, Immerse, which is perfect and lovely, and it's my best friend. I think the EHX is my worst choice on my first board. I haven't kept any of those pedals, but I can still look back with fondness on something like the Flashback. And even the Tube Screamer, I don't necessarily get along with them, but it's like an iconic choice. It's not a wrong place to start. I think the Cathedral is probably the wrong place to start for the type of thing I'm trying to do. Anyway, let me try going back to some gainier sounds. Okay, this is the old rig with the Tube Screamer and the Flashback on, and the Flashback is set to analog now. I think the biggest difference between my old rig and my new rig is mainly that it's just bassier and a lot less defined. I wonder how they fare on like single note lead lines, because I've been playing a lot of chord-based stuff. I think that the old rig sounds the least bad playing something like that, but I would still much prefer the definition and clarity that I'm getting now. So I'm not exactly surprised by the outcome of this A to B comparison. Obviously, if I thought that my new rig wasn't going to sound a lot better than my old one, I would be seriously rethinking my life choices. I do think it absolutely demolishes this starter board. So I guess the last 10 years have not been a complete waste trying to chase tones and upgrades and things. There was a part of me that was secretly hoping that some of these old pedals would like really knock my socks off or something, and then I could recommend them to beginner players, you know? I don't like the barrier of entry that it can sometimes feel like worship music has to new players, where it's like if you don't have the Strymon delays and the boutique handmade overdrive that one guy builds in his garage in like Sri Lanka or something, that then like forget about, you can't even get these tones. I don't believe that's true, but I also would not necessarily make the case that this starter board that I made when I was in my 20s was the move. So take all of this for what it's worth. But if nothing else, it was fun to hear where I started, where I am now, validate that some of that exploration and trying things and fine-tuning my choices was worthwhile. This is a little different than my normal kind of yearly pedalboard walkthrough because, like I said, there's nothing to walk through. It's all the same. But I'm feeling good about those choices. And I guess this is probably the last one. I hope that it was interesting in any way as kind of a full circle summation of this 10-year project. I don't anticipate changing anything anytime soon. If I ever do, I might make a video about just that thing. But I think the walkthroughs are probably over for now. And I wanted to bring it back to where it started and kind of compare the board that my weird beardless little self was running in that old video to where I have ended up now. It's crazy to think how far it's come in those 10 years. And it's crazy to think that 10 years ago I was using this. So thank you for watching. And if you're someone who's been watching these for a long time, thank you for doing that. You know, I get comments if I miss making one until late in the year, I start getting comments that are like, where's the walkthrough? And I appreciate that sort of thing. I would not have kept making them if I didn't keep getting asked about it. So I love all of you who've been around for a while. I appreciate you. And, you know, I'm still going to make videos about things that catch my interest or whatever, but I think the walkthroughs probably end here. I've arrived, so to speak. Famous last words. Watch some incredible thing come out next week and I change everything. But I think I've arrived for now. Thanks for watching.